Okay, yeah, I'm going to get started. All right, guys. So this next panel, very excited about this. It's focused on touring, but it's not just about touring in Miami and LA and New York. Most careers are built in the middle first. Cities where people actually show up, scenes are still forming, and artists can grow without the noise. And electronic music is all around us these days, and the industry continues to grow at a rapid pace. So we're going to get into it. First up, guys, we have Zach Ruben here from Breakaway. Shh. Don't make me be a teacher. I got a ruler. We got Zach Ruben from Breakaway. He's someone who's completely redefined what it means to build outside major markets. He's the co-founder of Breakaway, and he's scaled one of the fastest growing touring festival brands in the country. Make some noise for Zach. Next up, we have Ben Yekuel. Nice, got it. Ben Yekuel. He's from WME on the agency side, and he's someone who's directly in the trenches of how artists grow on the road. He's working on routing, touring, and development, and helping artists build real demand in the right markets. Make some noise for Ben, guys. Hell yeah. We have Paul Campbell here. He's clearly the most famous person here. My God, what a legend, right? He's from New Management, and he's bringing a lot of expertise and perspectives, working with Sidepiece, Nitty, and Malone, and he's helping build careers that aren't just hot in the moment, but built to last. Make some noise for Paul. And then we have the man, Alan Gary, from the team. He's one of the most experienced agents in the space, the king of Miami, they call him, actually. He's helped guide careers of artists at every level, from developing acts to global headliners. Make some noise for our panelists, guys. All right, cool. So what I really want to make sure you guys walk away with today is understanding the back end of the industry, how tours are built, where artists are routed, why they're routed. And as you can tell, we have the perfect people here to make sure that we give you that perspective. So I'm going to try and tell a story, and we're going to start with Zach. Zach, you scaled Breakaway by focusing heavily on mid-tier markets. Columbus, Grand Rapids, Minneapolis. I'm from Indianapolis. You guys ever heard of Indiana? Anybody? Wow, you've heard of Indiana. Can't believe that. Zach, what is it about those cities that makes them so effective for building your festival? And what about certain cities makes them sticky?
Yeah, I think, we got to start looking at underserved secondary markets where that's the heart of our country's culture. The big cities obviously are going to be saturated with events. Artists are always wanting and willing to go play the newest, biggest, coolest venues, events, festivals, and which are usually in those traditional big city markets. But there's music culture and music fans alike all in the middle. And the big, conglomerates like Live Nation, AEG, and Insomniac weren't touching the middle and didn't care about these markets. They were flyover states and flyover cities. And we saw a demographic and a population that wanted to be part of this movement, that wanted to support electronic dance music and experience, premium events and premium festival production and bring that to their cities and support it.
Yeah, I mean, what has been one of the most surprising cities that you've had success in? Like Columbus, Ohio, Minneapolis, Grand Rapids, like these are cities people don't talk about.
I mean, it's for us, it's all of the markets. But I think for Breakaway, we've seen a tremendous success in our some of our larger markets this year. Would be like Tampa, Charlotte, Minneapolis, Columbus, Kansas City was good.
Kansas City, baby.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go.
KC, Travis Kelce bringing the dance music.
That's great. I think Breakaway has been such a cool thing to watch as someone that's from a middle tier market, And I really believe it's coming from a city that most people don't even care about or heard of. There are real talented artists, and I love what you do with the silent discos, by the way. I think that's really cool. Yeah, who here is playing a Breakaway silent disco or has played? That's awesome. That's fucking awesome. My first festival gig was a silent disco. I cried in the street. It was fucking awesome, right? So you're giving opportunities to so many people. I think that's amazing. Yeah, go ahead, Alan.
Hello. I think one common denominator for most of the markets that Zach goes into is a big college audience. And I think from very early days, he's always tapped into that younger demographic. So while he's not in the biggest markets in the world, he's in some of the biggest college demos.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's an important piece of the puzzle for us, for sure.
College kids rage still. That's a fact. Okay, Ben. So now thinking about Zach's perspective, I'm interested in how you evaluate everything when you're routing artists. You work with a lot of drum and bass and dubstep artists, correct?
Correct.
A little bit of everything,
A
right?
little bit of everything.
I love that. I love that. Okay, just trying to get some perspective. So when you're routing an artist, how do you actually decide if a city is worth going back to?
I think it really comes down to the intention. Like if you care about growing your fan base in tertiary markets, then do it. But like know that it's going to be an uphill battle, right? Like there's some sounds that don't resonate in certain markets, so you might be building it from the ground up, right? Like right now we're seeing hard techno acts going into tertiary markets the same way that dubstep acts went into tertiary markets like 20 years ago. So I think it really just comes down to if you care about it and just doing it. Otherwise, like the major markets are a big spotlight, and festivals like Breakaway like will get you that crowd. And the after parties that you guys do with Breakaways are also a great way to serve those markets. So it just comes down to caring.
Yeah, and I think a big misconception that a lot of us have about what agents do, they think, I get signed to an agency, I become a millionaire, I go on tour. But the agents are really the ones that are managing the relationships in the background. So I'm curious for Ben, how do you actually manage the relationships with the artists and build rapport so that your artist can come back? Like, what are you doing behind the scenes when it comes to that?
I mean, I get pretty scientific with my artists. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, send me music, I'll rip it apart. I interned at a reggae record label back in the day, so I listened to a lot of music that was bad. I listened to a lot of music that was good. I don't think that anybody that works with an artist should be afraid to tell them what they think about their music. And also, again, back to intention, like, if you care about hitting a certain demo, like, make sure your music is serving it too, right? Like, if you want to break in the UK, but you're not making any music that resonates with that demographic, then it's never going to happen.
Yeah, you're sticking your neck out there as well for your artists, so it's important that you're placing them in the right spots. Paul, so Ben and Alan are thinking about city by city. You're thinking about how to actually build and maintain careers. I think it was amazing what Nitty said about how you were helping them go from really successful bass acts to a house music duo that had 0 followers. How do you know when the time is right? And I know that's a hard question, but like when an artist is saying, I want to go on tour, am I ready? How do you actually approach that conversation?
I think everything has a lot of nuances, so I don't think there's like one set answer. And I think people have different goals. And, you got people who like to DJ because it's fun and all the perks that come with it. You got, on the other side, like real artistry that really cares about what they're creating and they want to put that out in a meaningful way. And then you got somewhere in the middle where it's a little bit of both. So I think depending on what your goals are, would really dictate when you're ready. I think like on most of these conversations, you could kind of have like a baseline. Hey, this is what like you can plan on doing. This is what the majority of the people are doing. This is the way things kind of start touring. And if you go from that, I think really and truthfully, you have the artist needs to deliver quite a bit and needs to create some of that community that they were talking about on the other panel. They need to put out music. There needs to be engagement. There needs to be some kind of flair happening around their project before you get in front of an audience that is going to come out and buy tickets and support you and hang out the whole night. So I really think an artist like spending the time to work on their craft quite a bit. It doesn't need to be perfected or on the highest level, but enough to, okay, I need to go test it out now. And when we started touring back in the days, when I started my management company 10 years ago, we used to call it the Sacrifice Tour. And the Sacrifice Tour is, and this is like kind of aligning with like Instagram, it was like, I don't care how many people show up. If I could get a video of me and 17 of my friends in the booth, I'm gonna make that shit look insane online. And bro, 10 Sacrifice shows might be enough to ignite some attention. And then some promoter, maybe if you're like in South Florida, some promoter in Orlando might be like, oh shit, what was happening over there? Let me give them a call. They did a tour. There's a lot of strategy that you can use, right? But there's a perception that matters. And I hate to minimize the industry to how much you can like finagle and play the game, but there's a game there to be had. So I feel like when you're an artist, you decide what you want, when you want to go out there, and plan a sacrifice tour if you need to, and it works. But I would say just get your music together, get your set together, get some visuals, learn how to promote, be willing to promote in a market if nobody knows you, and grind it out. And the other one is if you make a hit and you're the shit, you don't have to do anything except make great music. So kudos to like the artists that are doing that. But if you got to grind it, be prepared to grind.
Those sacrifice tours are what we call promoter thirst traps.
That's so true. The sacrifice tour. I'm on a sacrifice tour right now. I was like, fuck, man. Damn, it's true. One thing that Paul just said, which I feel like is so important to nail down, he's a manager. He needs something to manage. If you are making absolutely no noise, but you're in your studio and you make great music, what's he going to do with that? You need to be making your own noise in order for people to care about you. I think that's super important. So for Alan, zooming all the way out, the highest level, you've worked globally with all different sizes of artists. How do you actually think about the balance between developing an artist in an emerging market versus pushing into major cities? Is it like city by city, or is it, we want to do this artist here because he's from there? Like, any examples you can maybe provide too?
Yeah, it is not a one-size-fits-all strategy. I think every artist has got different strategies, and every artist is willing to devote a different amount of time to touring in the U.S. Some live here and only tour the U.S., and in which case there's a lot of opportunity to go explore all the smaller markets. You might have another DJ that comes over from Europe, and you get a handful of weeks a year, and those acts generally don't end up going to some of the smaller markets unless you have Breakaway, which ends up getting a lot of that talent to now play their festivals. And I think you have a market like Columbus, which punches above its weight class because you've had Zach there building it for a long time. And I think, there are a lot of other markets in the US that could become like Columbus if they're given the attention by a promoter. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think like a point that you've made to me actually is like, how do you do in your own market? Can you sell 300 hard tickets? Like, this is like something that agents really look at. Like, oh wow, like you want to go tour in LA and Miami and Vegas, but like you cannot sell 10 tickets in your own city. You need to be able to demonstrate that like you can make moves in your own market. Then you slowly move out from there. Have you seen any artists not do well in their own market, but they're like crazy popular in the most random place? And is there any reason for that?
I'm sure that there are examples. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I think there are definitely some examples of that. I think with bass music being really popular in some of the smaller markets, or like Denver, Colorado, you have a lot of bass artists that can just sell double Red Rocks, and then they go to Los Angeles, where a lot of them live, and struggle to come close to what they're selling in some of those other markets.
Yeah, and I think that's something interesting that Breakaway does, right? Like Denver, known as a bass community, right? Well, Grand Rapids probably loves bass music too. Actually, I think they do love bass music, right? Yeah. Anybody here from Grand Rapids can validate that? No? I know Chance from Cincinnati. You guys like bass in house there, right? Yeah. I love that. Zach, I guess my question for you, with your experience and how Breakaway has scaled, it's scaled very quickly. And I think what Paul said about the sacrifice tour, what about like in the early days when you guys were investing in it, but making sure like Breakaway was going to be an experience for people? What's at the epicenter of that, your mantra?
It's tough because when we go to markets, the markets that we're in, we're not going, our whole thesis is affordability and accessibility. And through inflation, through market factors, through insanely egregious rising talent cost, it's really hard to deliver a premium product to the middle and keep that thesis of accessible and affordable. So I don't say we cut corners anywhere, because we don't. I think we operate at a really high level, and we produce our team produces with a premium mentality. But we invest a lot in just the overall production itself, like the main stage production, the overall experience from getting in the gates to the restrooms. But we don't have the opportunity to go put red carpet and green turf down on parking lots everywhere. Instead, we rely on our brand partnerships to heavily scale our program and provide those experiences. So unlike some of the larger like Live Nation AEG festival properties, brand partners will come in and they're going to get nickel and dime for every square inch and every little activation they want to add on. We actually say, hey, one price, come in, do whatever you want. We want you to enhance our festival experience. Let's co-brand it together. Let's help bring some talent that's playing the festival to do surprise pop-ups, come be part of our after party, and create a whole holistic experience. So we're relying on our vendors, our partners, and brands to enhance our core experience without having to, one, charge the consumer more, and two, kill our budgets and not make the event viable.
Who here throws events? Okay, that's a lot. What he's saying is go the extra mile, right? Like try and do quality and then you can scale with quantity. And I think that's so important. This is a question for everybody. I'm gonna start with Ben though. What's one touring decision that separate artists who last from the ones who peak early and disappear?
Keep steering the course. Just like know where you want to get to and just continue moving there. There's going to be a lot of distractions along the way in many different forms, but it's like if you know where you want to get to and like you know what your vision is, you just have to keep that in mind. You can't get sucked into, more money in this market or like different artist alignment because you think it'll be cool. Like just stay on the path that you want to be on and keep that vision in mind.
Love that. Alan, what about you? What's one touring decision that separates artists from those who last and those who fade?
I think there's a couple. I think patience and knowing the right time to strike is something that sets, successes and failures apart. I think it's really important to know when to time to go. I think that developing relationships with promoters and growing with the promoters is really important. I think that there are a lot of moments in artists' careers where they'll have opportunities to go take a money grab per se, or there might be a random promoter that pops up in a market that you've never heard of, but they're offering you more. And oftentimes that does not work out in your favor, and it's worth sticking with the tried and true and growing. Patiently and steadily.
Yeah. Zach, what about you? What's an artist that maybe you guys booked 5 years ago that you're still booking today?
John Summit played our second stage in Columbus, I think in 2019 for
Really?
a very nominal fee. Won't mention it, but that's going to be part of our thesis. We book at the beginning and we try to be there all the way through. And we typically have to tap out when they get to the end because it just gets too expensive for us. But back to that question, though, I think because we manage a few artists ourselves and dabble in it, not to the experience that Paul has, but I think patience is the number one key. And it's really hard because as an artist, it's true, like it's that struggle, that, financial struggle to be patient and continue to work your craft and trade and stay passionate about it while also being able to pay your bills and just live life to just to the standards, and patience, having those viral moments, taking the opportunities when they're right, not forcing them. You can't get stuck just playing nightclubs your entire career. You'll never sell a ticket and build a larger fan base. But there's also a lot of hard ticket acts that won't ever get booked in nightclubs. But I think, selling tickets and building your fan community and building that community early on through merchandise, being accessible to your fans, I think is how part of the way to get there.
I think he mentioned some things that I liked in there for sure. I think when you're planning a tour and you're growing in your touring, you got to be strategic on the markets you play, how often you play, all those different types of things, and you can build value, and you got to be patient 100%, like Alan said. But sometimes the financial aspect of it forces you to play more, forces you to be in markets, forces you to go to markets you might not want to play in because you have financial obligations. It's really important while you're on this journey to balance that part properly. And there's no part of this journey that's easy. So whether you're working another job while you're building your career, I work with Malone, who's over there, for 5 years in his career. people didn't know that he worked a 9 to 5 in corporate America while he had a family, you know? So you got to do what you got to do in order to do that. But sometimes when you're touring and you're trying to increase your value in a certain market, but you got to go there 6 times in order to pay your bills, you're devaluing yourself. I think the other thing that I would say is, and I'm not going to harp on this one, but I think it's important. I think as like social media and the speed of all that happens, I think artists that have had a long career, and this is probably to some of the bigger kind of artists, I think knowing how to pivot a little bit to communicate with the new audience and new fans, because somebody who built a fan base 10 years ago, their fans probably having kids and families and shit. They're not going to the raves, right? The raves is a young man. I'm 42. I started this shit when I was 16. It's a young man's game, you know, and a young woman's game. So when you're now, you've been touring for 7, 8, 10 years, what's your relationship with that audience? And I think that all the best guys, they know how to lure. I love Skrillex for this. Skrillex will fucking lure you in with that new shit and then educate the shit out of you. And then you're like, fuck. And I think in order to keep that cycle of new fans going on, got to know how to pivot without selling yourself out.
I love that. I don't think anyone does it better than Skrillex. Can we all agree? Yeah. Shout out to the GOAT. So one thing that I focus on a lot is the dangers of virality. I think these one-hit wonders, modern day, is your TikTok song of a 30-second clip of a work in progress goes viral, and people are like, well, you gotta come here, you gotta come there. You've never DJ'd in your life, right? So like that's what's changed so much. My simple question for you guys is like the modern day one-hit wonder. Like how do you actually take that and be advantageous with the exposure? We can start with Paul maybe.
Yeah, there's no way to like shun a viral moment, right? Unless it's for the bad reasons, right? But a viral moment is going to bring visibility to your project in a major way. And I think what you see is some people are working towards catching a viral moment. I don't think that's going to work well. I think that there are people that have the craft and the brand and the artistry ready. And when that person finds their viral moment, they're prepared to do what it takes after. We were having this conversation last night, and I think it's a good example. Mochak. There was that video. I'm not going to say that was his whole reason or anything like that, but that video, he was like, make it hot, hot. He was punching the air. That shit went super viral. Bro, but that guy had the bag ready for what came next. He brought the eyeballs and he came with fucking incredible music, came with a dope brand, came with a dope aesthetic to his flyer design, his personable identifiers, the tattoos on his neck, the punk vibe. He was ready for it. So, you know, I do what you do and keep putting out content and viral content, but man, I'm just gonna always say, have your career ready, have your music ready, have all that ready, because if you do something that catches people's attention and then you deliver back to back moves, you're off.
Zach, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think the viral moments, it's tough as a promoter because you want to be continuously attaching your brand and yourself and your markets to what's the hottest and coolest thing happening, in the community. But those viral moments aren't substantiated all the time with actual data and history and relevant metrics to justify a valuation that a manager or agent is pitching you on. So you have to be kind of careful to not get caught in buying those things. And those viral cycles, can last for 6 months, like some crazy campaigns, or they can last for 6 days or 6 weeks. And if you're on the wrong side of that, then you'll find yourself in a pretty bad spot. So like Paul said, I think the viral moments have to be substantiated and backed up with the next one. And you've got to be even if you don't have it, that's okay. But if you're talented and you have the quality, then start working on what your next moment is. And, look at early day chain smokers, for example, right? I still go back, it's still all about music. If you can't back up your viral moments or your first track with a second track and then a third and a fourth, then your career is going to be very short-lived. You're going to be overvalued up front and left in the dust, a year later. So, I think it's still always about the music, and which is really neat about this industry is a lot of artists come and go, a lot of promoters come and go, events come and go. But one thing that I'm seeing to hold true at some degree with all the social media noise is the end of the day, it's still about the music. And if you don't have quality music and quality production, you're not going to continue to climb the ladder.
I don't have a lot to add to that. I think that what you guys are saying is correct. It's like if you have something to follow up your virality with, it's gonna stick better. And if you go viral and you just have a void after that, it's gonna unfortunately die down, and that would be unfortunate.
The only thing I will add to that is it kind of depends on the stage of the artist, right? Like if you're having a viral moment, but you've never played a show, like that might be an opportunity to prepare for what that show is, right? Like maybe I use my content to do data collection campaign as opposed to just go get booked down the road or in my next city, right? But if I'm an artist that's been around, I have the data, like I might have to strike while the iron's hot. Otherwise I'll miss my moment. So that's the only thing I'll add.
Yeah, I love that. I like to think of the word, are you equipped? Are you ready? Is your backpack packed, right? A very, very famous Chicago DJ, Terry Hunter, said when we did this the first year, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready, y'all. Be ready every single fucking day because you never know when this shit's gonna pop, and that's what separates you from the rest. If you are equipped, if you're ready to rock. Okay, we're gonna do some Q&A. Who's got some?
Can I say something real
Yeah,
quick?
go ahead, Paul. Yeah, of course.
I don't know if it was intentional or not, but the way that you program these last things back to back, I hope you guys can like see how hand in hand they go together, right? Because we're talking about like an artist and doing all those things, but then how does that translate to building a community? And how does doing both of those give you the longevity and touring and get the attentions from the agents, right? There's a lot of moving pieces happening at the same time, and I love the way that if you just like really think about what they were saying on the community side and building the fans and doing all that, and then hearing what we're saying right now on the touring side, you definitely see how those two connect and why they're both important. So kudos for you guys if that was intentional. But
Hey guys, my name is Rob Fink. I'm a house DJ from Philadelphia. I've been producing music for over 10 years. First started in hip hop, then I moved to house, more because of the fact that I would make beats for my friends. And a part of me is like, I'm not a rapper, but I want to do something with this, and I DJ'd. So it was just an easy segue into house, like being an artist, making my own music, and then doing my own thing. But I want to ask you guys, because I'm more in production side of this. The DJing part, like I said, is just for playing the music out. How do I, with this touring aspect, keep that in mind whilst also doing the hardcore production? Because the first panel was really what was for me than this side, but I also, sitting here, think, well, maybe I have to keep this stuff in mind. Like you said, it goes hand in hand, one to the other. So how does someone do that whilst producing, but keeping their themselves out there?
So you're a producer, super producer, producer Fringe, and you're wondering how to kind of shift gears a little bit to the touring side? I think the grass is always greener on the other side, and I think that you kind of need to get in where you fit in. And the thing I think a lot of touring artists deal with right now is everybody wants to be a touring artist, and everybody should go for it that wants to do that. I'm definitely not saying that, but I think people forget as a DJ producer, that type of career, that touring isn't the only way to generate income. You can be a ghost producer. You could be a studio producer. You could be an executive producer. You could work on scoring. You could work inside of a label. You can be an A&R. There are 100 different avenues for somebody who is skilled at producing to make money, and touring is not the only one. Ricky, who was up here, just signed 3 records on the BTS album, and that is fucking it's crazy. It was huge for us, right? But if I told you how we got there, I could tell you during COVID when there was no shows, Ricky ghost produced for several artists and generated enough money for all of us as his management team to survive. So I know I'm not answering the question exactly what you want, but what I am telling you is that you sound like you're a great fucking producer. Monetize it. Figure out how to do it. Don't be too proud. Make sure you get your points. Make sure you get your publishing, charge people, ghost produce, remix, do what you gotta do. But there's a lot of ways to make money in this industry as a skilled producer.
How are you? My name's Blake Forthco, Canadian, but I'm a Chicago guy. I live in Chicago. Okay, so I'm making some noise in the scene, and I'm starting to get people from around the U.S. hitting me up for shows and whatnot. And I'm curious what pitfalls or mistakes you see promising artists make too early in their career. So, like, if people are hitting me up, but I also want to reach out to people like Breakaway, for instance, to open up a network in the future. Is there certain things you see that some artists do that they shouldn't? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think one, if you have people at an early stage career and you're getting inbounds already, take those opportunities because they're not always there, and a lot of early stage artists don't get those. And I think it's important then to showcase those for your outbound. If you want to go play a Breakaway, you want to get an early slot at Factory Town or whatever it might be for you, say, hey, I'm already playing XYZ, here's some content, I'm proving myself, give me a chance on your stage because I'm already doing it elsewhere. A lot of time there's this promoter FOMO. Like if I see something that's bubbling in Miami, I'm gonna wanna be the first one to bring that to Columbus. If someone in Miami sees what's moving in Grand Rapids, Columbus, Charlotte, they're gonna say, hey, maybe we should be looking at that for our venue or our festival. So find the balance. Use the inbound opportunities to go help yourself sell what your goals are on your outbounds.
Hello guys, my name is Jay. I'm a house music DJ and producer from out here. I wanted to know, how do you make the most out of your market when you make a more niched, old school Chicago, more vintage style, when the market here in Miami is like more Latin, more tech house driven and oriented?
You're from Miami?
Yeah.
What's up, baby? I was raised in Broward, so I get like people are like, you're not from Miami. I'm like, I lived there for fucking 25 years now. I'm from fucking Miami. So I think when it comes to like marketing, it's really, look, like I said, there's a baseline, there's trends. I can tell you, I can point, there's data, there's algorithms, there's all these things I can show you what works or not. And it really just depends the type of person you are, an artist you are. Make what is authentic to you. And what you will find is that there's an audience that wants exactly what you have. And I personally would rather be on an island just chilling with my community than sitting every day trying to follow what trends are. I think if somebody has to wake up every day trying to figure out what the next guy is doing and all this shit, you're always a step behind. I think find out, somebody says like know the rules so you know how to break them, right? And I think that's like the biggest thing you can do. And I think like when it comes to marketing, like identify yourself. One thing that we used to do is have an artist make a Pinterest board, put 100 print notes, and you kind of start to see what the fuck you're about. You might not even know, but for all of a sudden you start seeing your colors. All of a sudden you start seeing like your stage presence. All of a sudden you're like, oh shit, this is my brand. Know what you are, and then know how to like tweak it to communicate. Like I don't think you can just go fabricate it all, but if you keep 80%, 90% authenticity, and then play a little bit of the game, you'll find a sweet spot. So yeah, the internet's bigger than Miami. The internet's bigger than Chicago. You could be from both places, and New York's your biggest market. So don't worry about trying to cater to the market. Find out what's dope about you, what people like about you, and give your fans that are supporting you more of that.
Hi, guys. I'm Mickey, or Posh is my artist name. I took a few notes, so that's why I'm on my phone. I just wanted to thank all of you guys for touching on authenticity. I feel like as artists, we've all struggled with that, so thank you for the reminder on all of that as well. Also, Zach, thank you. I was honored enough to play the inaugural Arizona Breakaway. I'm back this year, so very excited to be back, so yes. But before I was a DJ, I was in photojournalism on like Warped Tour, and you know, we've seen controversies come out on tours like that, along with like Fire Festival and everything like that. So I don't know if you have like maybe 3 aspects that make a festival like very successful and prolific.
You have to be in it for the right motivation. That's first and foremost. My partner Adam and I got into this because we love the music. We're passionate about meeting people and bringing people together and curating events, you know, being a promoter at its most genuine, I think, definition. So I think, and that goes for your artistry career or whatever piece of any industry you're a part of or any career, you should try, if you have the ability, and I wake up every day and I'm fortunate we get to do this for work because it doesn't feel like work. If you love what you do and you're doing it for the authentic reason behind it, then you shouldn't fall into those situations. But it takes a lot of work. You have to grind it out. You have to build trust. You have to do the right thing, even if it's not necessarily the most successful. We have lost money many of times because we wanted to show that we were doing the right thing, whether that's honoring a deal with an artist or a vendor, whether it's maybe taking a risk and overpaying for value that we didn't perceive was correct, whether it was giving fans a refund in a situation that is the right thing to do. A lot of companies don't do that, but you want to build that trust. And I think for us, relationship value is very, very high in what we do. And we really pride ourselves on the authenticity of ourselves as operators and business people, and building those relationships with the community, from the agents to the artists to the managers. So yeah, relationship, being passionate about what you do, and not like trying to shortcut, and sometimes know that the long game is going to be better than that short.